All right, this lecture is about assurance, and I will tell you there's quite a few test points based on this. Some, there's pretty much nearly every slide has questions on it, okay? So it's important you know this stuff. And I did actually change the slides for this year, so the old ones are getting the new ones. Well, I put them online, but this theory allows formal proof of known security policies. So we can use a theory and actually prove components. We can prove collection of components. We can prove entire machines. So there's a lot of theories that allow that. We can prove that things are going to work. It's kind of, if you think about it, when you buy a car nowadays, how many miles are on it? Maybe like 1 or 2.
Oh, a new car?
A new car. A new car. So they really don't test them very much. So how do we know that car is going to work? Well, it's because they've proven that their design principles and everything are going to work. So yeah, they test the heck out of a couple of them, but once they get it, I actually, with my Volt, I watched when they were making the original prototype, this stupid thing here, and they go through there, and they make it on this metal press to make the component. Try to put it all together. Nope, didn't quite fit right, and they go make another one, modifying it just a little, until they get it absolutely perfect. Then they would use that as the formal press. But it was, it's kind of interesting watching that. And so it says, what should they do? Well, first of all, a security policy is a document that states in writing what your plans are. A lot of people don't have that, okay? I'll say majority don't. You know the crypto wall virus that's out there right now? Well, there's one out. It's called Crypto Locker, Crypto Wall, where it encrypts your entire hard drive. You got to pay a ransom of $500 to get it back.
Oh, I've seen that. And
a lot of people got it, and there's no fix.
Yeah.
It's PGP encrypted, or it's public key encrypted. I don't know if it's actually used for PGP.
You got to wipe it.
But the point is, if you don't have a backup policy, you're done. Like even in Rose State, some person on campus did it to their personal laptop, and they realized, can you get a fix for this? No, there isn't one. So pay the money and restore a backup. So, what is your security policy? Do you have a backup policy? Do you have a physical security policy? Right? It's like these doors. Actually, is that door even locked? It doesn't look like it's locked. Let me look. Oh, it is. Okay. I thought it was supposed to be the other way. But, physical security, there's a lot of different stuff that pertains to it. It's like when I did checks for credit cards, before you can accept a credit card, there's a stupid name for it. We had to answer these questionnaires, and there was questions in there like, do you have 2 doors with 2 different keys between the outside world and the server room? That's a requirement. You have to have at least 2 separate keys. So stuff like that. And and the bad thing is, like for companies that accept credit cards, you answer the questions yourself. You say yes or no. You really could say yes, but be lying about it. It kind of sucks, but it's the way it works. Okay. Design principles. Pretty much every one of these I'm going to talk about is on test. Okay? They're guidance standards that are relatively independent of policy. Now we're going to look at these. Everyone's going to be on the test. Okay? Every one of these will be on the test. All these next 8 or 10 of them. So, principle is of least privilege. It says a subject could be given only the privileges needed to complete the task. So, to make our job easier, we're going to give everybody on Tinker domain admin rights. What do you think? But we could. It'll be easy. There'll be no more permission problems. There'll be no more installing application problems. But all the other problems it would bring in. But years ago, that's the way they did it. Everybody had full access to everything.
Yeah, you know how much problems that caused? Some of these people we talk to, it's like, they have no idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of idiots. And it's like, why are you even on the computer? But, we had a software.
You'd be amazed how much they make.
What now?
You'd be amazed
Oh
how
yeah,
much
I
they
know what
make.
some of them make. It's like, for what you do? At Rose State here, we have that Oasis system where you all log in and enroll and all that stuff. Prior to that, it was HP Reflections. HP Reflections was basically closed. No longer being updated, no longer being supported, so we had to get rid of it. But in that system, once you had access as a faculty member, you had access to everything as a faculty member. I could go in and see every person's stuff all over campus, so it kind of sucked. And it's kind of that way now. I mean, it's a lot more, we have a lot more granularity of the controls now. But I have to be able to check grades of students. for my certificates. But they couldn't make it so I could only check the grades of CIT. They basically said if you can check grades, you can check everybody's grades. That's all there is to it, which I kind of needed anyway because some people enrolled in English classes or math classes. But it was weird, like, you know, with all the security built into the system, you would think they would make it so I could only check certain ones. So, but,
Somebody could pay you off and, you know, make an A and another 20.
and it was only checking grades. It wasn't changing grades. It was only checking grades. So, I know. If you pay me off, I could go on more vacations. But, all right, so least privilege. Only give them what they need to get their job done. But sometimes that might be more than you think. Like Mass90, an accounting software that Chapel Supply uses. We have this one person that kept installing crap on their computer. And we tell them don't do it, and because they all had domain admin rights. Because they just, well, finally said, you know, let's remove their rights. So we did. But the problem was that stupid accounting software has to save temporary files in the System32 directory. The only one that can do that is an admin. So we tried everything to make it so they could work without admin privileges. Well, actually, they were local admin privileges, not domain admin. But we ended up calling the company, and they're like, no, the user must be in the local administrators group. I'm like, then what the heck is that? Then we couldn't restrict them from other stuff. So, kind of sucks sometimes.
There's no way around it.
No, it was funny because they were actually running a different piece of software. And for years, they were like, yeah, we really need to, we're going to replace this. We're going to switch to Mass90. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Never did it. Until one time they had a failure and we found that the tapes weren't any good. The incremental backups are good, but the full backup was never good, so we could never restore the entire accounting system. So you know what? We said, you know, it's a darn good time to switch to Mass90, so they did. But it kind of sucked too, because, you know, tapes didn't work. So I hate tapes. I hate tapes. Okay. Fail-safe defaults. And says, unless the subject is given explicit access, it should be denied access. Okay? So unless I say you can get into this room, you're not allowed in this room. Okay? So the default setting should be no access. When I ran my ISP years ago, Internet Service Provider, a good friend of mine ran one. Actually, is still running one today. He helped me configure mine. So he basically gave me his ACL, which is his access control list for his routers. He gave me his configuration so I could basically copy and use it on mine, because his was working, no problem. Well, the way his worked was block the bad stuff and allow everything else in.
No.
But I teach this stuff, I'm like, that's bad. That's default allow. That's not default deny. But he's like, yeah, but as an ISP, you don't know what your clients need. You don't know what they're going to be doing, so you need to allow it. Well, after a few months of running it, you know, what I started doing was I started capturing my own traffic, seeing what my customers were doing, and then swapped it. So I blocked it. You know, I allowed what they needed to do, but blocked everything else. And the only one I had an issue with was one of my clients had co-locating a server at my location, and he was on vacation and didn't use his VPN the entire time I was capturing traffic. So when he came back and went to use it, I said, hey, my VPN's no longer working, because I didn't know that. But it was funny because shortly after that is when the SQL Slammer worm came out. The SQL basically killed a lot of SQL servers. I think it connected on port 1433. So man, it came out and my friend called me up right away. He's like, Ken, there's a new virus out there. It hit us. It's going to hit you. You got to go shut your machines off immediately. I'm like, why? He goes, let's kill this, man. It's a brand new virus on this port. He told me you need to go in and add a new rule to your firewall. I'm like, why? I was at work. I'm like, I'm not worried about it. He said, what do you mean you're not worried about it? I said, oh, I switched my rules a month ago. I said, now I allow the good things and block everything else. So since I'm not allowing that port in, I'm good. And he's like, seriously? I'm like, I have no problem. Never didn't hit it all. So I don't know if he swapped his at this point, but I would hopefully he did, because this way it should work. Okay. Economy and mechanism. The answer is not the cheapest solution possible. So many people tell me economy and mechanism is the cheapest solution possible. No. So the security mechanism should be as simple as possible. Okay. So I'm going to go log into my computer in the morning. Why are you calling me? Do you want me to do mystery shopping? No, not on vacation. So when I go to log into my computer in the morning, can you imagine if I had to give a blood sample and DNA and all this other stuff? It would be very hard to get done. It would never be used. Now, username and password is tough enough for some people, but we really can't get much easier than that. I mean, Bob, like this Touch ID on here, on the whole phone here, I didn't think I'd like it. I absolutely love it, so it's making it easier to get into my device. But with security mechanisms, they need to be easy to use, because what happens if they're too hard? Anyone know? People won't use them. They'll stop using them. They'll figure out a way to bypass it. So it needs to be easy enough, but still have something in place. Okay? You still need something there, but it needs to be easy to use. So it's not the cheapest solution available. Okay? And no simpler. You don't want it simpler to the point where, let's just make everybody have the same password. It'll be easier. No, that's stupid. Okay? All right. Complete mediation. It says, all access to an object must be checked to ensure they are allowed. Okay? That means is you need to check everything. Okay? This is a prime example. I'm actually going to do it at the airport tomorrow. I'm assuming we all flown before. Y'all flown before? Yes? No? Maybe? Hopefully gone through security. You've never flown? Well, it sucks. Security checks is a pain in the ass.
Especially now.
Yes. But you go through security, and once you're through security, you have access to the gates. So they check every person getting access to the gates. Yeah, exactly. So we were there with my son Micah. He did that. This is when he was like 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Going on a trip to Europe with the school. EFT tours. Don't learn the darn things about how to get drunk. But he was on that, and we're sitting here waiting for them to arrive at like 11:30 at night. It was funny because if you've been to World Rogers Airport, you got security when you go through, but on the way out, you're kind of like walking down this corridor, and it's like there's a guy watching this way, and you're walking past him, okay? And once you passed him, you're out. You can't go around. Well, there was a guy in there sweeping the floor, and he was in there sweeping, and he dropped something. Didn't realize it until after he passed the security guard. He was literally past the security guard. He's like, oh man, I dropped my pen. So what do you think the security guard said?
No.
Go back through security. Because that's the way, we know it was his pen, but the rule was once they passed this point, they must be checked again. So I was actually thrilled to death they did it. Could they have been okay without it? Most likely. It was something the security guard dropped. But you never know. Because the security guard's looking this way, how do we know he didn't go past him, grab something, and trying to bring it back in? So the girl was like, nope, can I access? You got to go back to security. So basically we checked it again. Same with computers. Everything has to be checked. Okay? And Windows uses the Kerberos ticket granting system. Basically when you log on, you get a ticket that has your access controls built into it, and it's good for a certain length of time. But anytime you go to access something on the network, it checks, hey, you got a ticket. So kind of cool. All right. Open design. Security mechanisms should not be dependent upon the secrecy of the design. That's DES versus AES. DES was originally designed on secrecy. AES is on an open system. Which one's better? Obviously AES is. Okay? Because if you have it secret, people can't see it, they want to see it, and maybe they won't be able to find the flaws in it either. So, should not be dependent on the secrecy of the design or implementation. Because once the word gets out, did y'all know there's a new trailer out for Jurassic World? Saw it today. It's the new Jurassic Park movie. Yes.
I watched the trailer.
Yeah, it seemed pretty good. Obviously, it's all far-fetched, but it seemed pretty good. Well, someone leaked it. It wasn't supposed to be out until Saturday. Someone leaked it. So what are they going to do now? They can't stop it. It's already out there. So, it's kind of the same thing. You don't want something to be secret because once people find out about it, then it goes crazy. All right, separation of privilege. A system should not grant permissions based on a single condition. So I'm not going to let you in based on your username only. I want two different things. Another way you can think of this is, I actually was reading an article today about a lady at the Edmund She was in charge of some schools, clubs at Edmond High, or one of them schools up in Edmond. She had the ability to sign checks all by herself and use their debit card.
Oh, wow.
It's like $7,000 something, and the only reason they caught her was she came back in to renew their paperwork and didn't have the correct paperwork. The paperwork had changed this year, and she didn't have the new paperwork. So she finally turned herself in. No, after they caught you, you turned yourself in. Okay? But can you imagine, when I ran my business, I was the one who sent bills out, spent money, but also received checks. Is that a conflict of interest?
Yes.
It really is. But since it was my company, I'm really the only member of the company, that's fine. But can you imagine if I worked at Rose State and I was the person who received checks for tuition and also had the spending card to buy stuff? Probably not the good idea. You would want someone to check that. Now, yeah, the IRS checked me. Look, I never got arrested, but as my own company, I could see that being somewhat allowable. But since it was my own company, who was I going to hire? Someone else to write checks for me? No, that'd be stupid. But really, you shouldn't base anything on a single condition. There should be some separation amongst things as well. Okay? All right. It says mechanisms used to access resources shouldn't be shared. So we have, I kind of think about it. I have a key to these doors in this building. This one key opens most doors in this building. That's kind of sharing of a mechanism, isn't it? Is that a good idea? What happens if Ken Dewey loses his key? Actually, I've had this key for, I don't know, ever now, this master key, but they've only rekeyed this building one time. What that's telling me is no one else has ever lost a key. No one else has ever got fired or left or moved positions that had a key. Yeah. It says, so mechanisms so I should not use the same mechanism for the FTP system they use on the email system. They shouldn't be shared amongst each other. Okay. Psychological acceptability. So security mechanisms should not make the resource more difficult to access than if they were not present. We used to have a housekeeper that would come to my house once or twice a week, I don't remember now, and clean the house. Well, it was a pain in the butt for me. First reason, because we had to clean the house before the housekeeper came. I used to hate that. I had to clean the house so she could come in and clean the house. Drove me crazy. But the second part is I always had to be there to let her in. And I'm not going to stand there. I can't watch someone clean my house. I can't. So I would always have to go home, let her in, and then leave. But I actually went out and bought a biometric lock for the front door. I said, I'm going to solve the door. I'm going to put her fingerprint in there. She'll have access. Guess what she said? She barely spoke English. She goes, no, take my soul. I thought I was going to take her fingerprint. She literally thought I was taking part of her soul, I guess, and putting it into this lock. She's like, oh, no. She would not use it for nothing. So I'm like, I spent $800 for nothing. That sucked.
Should have asked first.
I know I should, but she barely spoke English. Okay, so they should not make it more difficult to access than if they were not present, and they shouldn't freak people out. Like I watched the movie last night, The Giver. Anyone seen The Giver yet? Just came out on DVD today. I watched that, and they basically take an injection every day, which makes they lose their memories and all this other stuff. But can you imagine if every day you had to take a shot? Joy, our secretary, who just had a baby, she had to take insulin injections every morning. No, I couldn't do that. I would be in there talking to her, and she'd get the needle out, and I'm like, oh, no, I can't watch that. How could you do that? How could you inject yourself? Oh, I couldn't.
I can't even watch it when they pay.
I can't either. And I used to donate blood all the time. It sucked.
Okay, I'm good.
So, yes.
I never even look.
All right, a couple more. Okay, actually I want two more. Secure systems and practice. Formal verification of an entire system is not yet a practice. So we can take this computer down here, and we can verify that the CD-ROM is going to work correctly, and that the network card is going to work correctly, and all this stuff. But can we ever guarantee that the entire system will work perfectly together? No, you can't. I had a video years ago when Microsoft rolled out Server 2000, Active Directory. Because before that it was NT4. Came out with Server 2000, and on the video there, where Microsoft was rolling out Active Directory, they showed them how to do it. But in the video, they were showing the verification process that Microsoft uses before drivers can get installed. You know, sometimes when you install something, it's already got the drivers, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get a load aftermarket drivers. Well, Microsoft was showing that the vendor that actually has to bring the component to Microsoft has to prove it meets their design principles and everything, has to prove it's safe and not going to cause any issues. All that has to be done before Microsoft will accept it. That's why so many things nowadays, it's like video cards. I don't think any video card drivers are installed. You always get the generic ones. But the point is, you know, there's no way to prove that everything will work with everything. You can't. I used to do beta testing for executive software. That's the company that actually probably still do, sells Diskkeeper. It's actually the defrag engine that's built into Windows. I used to do beta testing for them. And they'd give me a new release of it, and I'd install it, and I'd defrag my hard drive. And it was funny, one day I got this message, volume corrupt, restore from backup. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So I contacted them, and they started freaking out. And they're calling me, and they're making little changes and sending it to me. They FedEx overnight a box of cookies to me.
What?
So I was thinking, okay, maybe they think I'm a geek that sits around and eats cookies all day. I don't eat cookies, I eat chips. I should have done chips. But they were going crazy trying to fix this problem because they wanted to push this release out. They were getting ready to release a new version, except I kept having this issue. Well, they finally fixed it. Now they fixed it. They found out that it was my specific version of McAfee was like old. It was 2 dot something or other, whatever version, and their software didn't like each other. So the way they fixed it was they put in the little notes when you install something, it says, oh, when running Diskkeeper whatever version with McAfee whatever version, you will get an error that states this. Ignore it. Like, seriously? That's how you fixed it? But it wasn't corrupt. They proved it wasn't corrupt. It was just a bogus error. So, but there's no way they could guarantee that it was ever going to work with every piece of software. That's, you know, I got on these drugs ever since I had my heart issue this summer. And have you ever looked at some of the side effects of drugs? They suck. They're bad. And some of them, you know,
they're just as bad.
I was telling a friend of mine what was going on because I did the Rose State treadmill-a-thon where you have to go 26 miles in a month. And I used to finish in 4 days. Every year I finished in 4 days. This year it took me 1 day less than a month. So I would walk 3.5 miles an hour and my legs would start killing me. They were burning like they were on fire. I was talking to a friend of mine. She goes, what are you taking? So I told her. And she's like, oh, Lipitor. Lipitor breaks down your muscles and causes severe pain. So I'm like, oh, crap, that sucks.
That's for cholesterol.
She goes, stop taking it. She goes, why you want it? I says, I don't know. It's because I had a heart problem. So my cholesterol is 164.
Really?
Yeah. And my doctor's like, well, you still need to be on this anyway because everybody that has heart problems takes this. So I quit taking it.
You only have to,
I know,
it's
below
over
200 is good. So I quit taking it, and all the pain was gone away, thank God. But the point is, there was a side effect of the drug that I wasn't aware of, and you know, I've seen her twice since then, and each time I would tell her, you know, they always ask the question, do you have leg pain? Yes. Do you have leg swelling? Yes. I mean, my ankles were like this huge block. My foot was all swollen. I kept saying, yeah, I got swelling. Oh, okay, and they didn't do nothing about it.
She put you on it just because?
So because everybody takes it. So after I stopped taking it, it's amazing. All the swelling went down, the pain went away, and I'm like, forget this crap. So, but you know, there's no way they could verify that drug would work for everybody. Now I know about it. It's like, why? And the bad part is I didn't even tell her I was getting off it. But she had me on a different drug that lowers your heart rate. Lowered it to the point where I couldn't get my heart rate up above 98. I'd be on the bike riding as fast as I possibly could, and my heart was going boom, 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 which was bad. I don't have 3. I know. Even Cameron's missing.
On how many would show up for our 540?
Yeah, even Cameron's missing.
What?
He should give us A's.
I would too. I would.
See? See, he's nice.
Either that or bring him out new one of those.
But the other drug she had me on, it's weird. I could exercise, I could run, but my heart wouldn't beat fast. They do it to keep your heart rate low. What now? She's actually the head cardiac surgeon at St. Anthony's. But this is a very popular drug that everybody's on. And I told her, I said, well, I'm not off this drug because I can't. I was gaining weight excessively because you think about it, your heart doesn't beat.
Yeah,
So I went in there to see her. I said, I'm stopped taking it. Wow, you really need to be honest. No, I said, here's the deal. You either tell me to stop taking it or I'm going to stop taking it. One or the other. So she said, okay, fine, stop taking it. But these are normal drugs that everybody with heart issues takes.
But
It's different for me. It's just something that, I know, it sucks. It just sucks. So the same thing comes into our systems. Can we guarantee every system is going to work with every other system? So when we buy this brand new something or other from this wonderful company that does everything, is it really going to work perfectly with our system? We can't guarantee it. There's no way. There's no way you could. Okay? Okay. Trustworthy. It says sufficient evidence to believe that we'll meet the requirements. Now we can do this. We're pretty sure. I mean, what are we running? What's the latest version of it's Windows 8? Well, okay, Windows 8 sucks.
Windows 8, yeah.
Let's say Windows 7. I'm pretty sure that Windows 7 will work fine. I don't know about Windows 8. But trustworthiness is you're pretty sure there's sufficient evidence that they've gone through the design process and it looks like it's going to work. Okay, so that's the difference there.
So that's why they changed it, right?
Yeah, now it's actually. Do you notice they didn't go to Windows 9? They went to Windows 10.
Did they? Oh, we were talking about that today.
We're already running Windows 10. We have it on. We have a virtual machine on it. It's.
So they never did a 9.
They brought back the start button. That's really. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. Okay. Then assurance is confidence the system meets the security requirements. So the FAA does a lot of accreditation testing, make sure machines work on their network. They have the right updates, they have the right versions of everything. So we're basically getting assurance that it's going to meet the requirements. Okay? When I told you about the whole credit card processing, I had answered this questionnaire, and based on the answers to the questionnaire, they could be assured that my system was safe. But again, is it always perfect? Not always. But this last part, often based on the development process. Okay? No one can really check everything. It's kind of like here at the school. We're accredited from North Central, the Higher Learning Commission. Do you think they really come out, interview every faculty member, sit through every class, read every piece of curriculum? No, we actually do what's called a self-study. We tell them what we do and what our principles are and how we do stuff. Then they do come out, they're here for 3 or 4 days, and they talk to some people, make sure everything looks good. But a lot of it is based on what we tell them and about our processes. Same with software. Hey, this company has done it correctly. Because I developed some software for the military as a jet engine mechanic. Okay? A friend of mine worked in the orderly room, main office basically, and had to keep track of people and then on leave. And they always had to do it on paper. And when you had an alert, those of you not in the military, what that is 2 in the morning Sunday, they were like, alert, and everybody has to be to work in 30 minutes. And it's very hard to figure out where everybody lives and contact them all and figure out who's on vacation. So I wrote this program to keep track of that. Everybody loved it. It got all the way up to the Pentagon level. But this was written by Ken Dewey, a jet engine mechanic. Okay, everybody was loving this program. Well, did I follow proper design? No, I just wrote the darn program. Say, hey, Barbara, what do you want to do when I did it? And it turns out, when I was asking for Social Security numbers, I would have her enter the Social Security number. But how would you enter a Social Security number? With dashes, without dashes, with colons, with spaces? How would you put it in?
Spaces or dashes.
But there's an or there. Or this, or that. The problem is the program needs it in one certain way. My program didn't care. So if I entered your Social Security number with dashes, then the next time I enter it with no dashes, guess what? You're 2 different people. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
And when I moved over into the software development area, my program came up because it was being used literally all the way up to the Pentagon level. People are using it. Everybody kept calling, we want this program, we want this program. And I'd give it to them, and we found there's some issues with it. So we looked to fix just the Social Security number problem based on the proper design techniques. It was going to take 2 years. The problem is we have people worldwide using it, and their data was in who knows what format. So just designing it correctly was going to take all this time. Whereas if I can do it myself, I do it in 5 minutes. But then we have a problem that's going to take 2 years to fix because I didn't follow the proper design principles here. Prior to D2L, we had Lec16, and prior to that we had something else and something else. But prior to all that, I wrote my own. And I actually wrote it 3 times. I wrote it, and it worked great until I wanted to add a new feature. That sucks. So I had to rewrite the entire thing. And then the 3rd time, I actually thought about it. Believe it or not. I actually did. I thought about the way it should be written, and I wrote it, and it actually worked quite well. But then they came out with Web-CD, and then I stopped using it. So I had online access for students for taking homework and all that way before anybody else did. But again, a lot of it's based on design process or the development process. Okay. All right. So a trusted system is evaluated and passed in terms of well-defined requirements and an evaluation method. Okay. What do you want it to do? Okay. And how are you going to do it? And how are you going to evaluate that it did it? Okay. So that's very important. Okay. Really, it's based on requirements and how it's like software testing. We had our advisory committee last Friday, and one of the advisors there said, "Hey, we need programmers. We need specifically testing programmers to test software. There's such a demand because there's so much software out there." It needs to be tested. So that's what they really need. They need someone to come in and test it. That's part of the evaluation criteria of software. So big, big need for that. So, all right, we're almost done. Okay, I think this is the last slide.
I can make a living as a game tester.
Okay, secure versus trusted. Guaranteed positively this is on the test. 100%. This will be there. You need to know every component of this. Just saying. Okay. Secure versus trusted. So secure is a binary concept. In other words, is that door secure right now?
Yes.
Yeah, because we checked it. It does not open. It's not. So what if it was halfway, the lock was turned halfway? Would it still be secure?
No.
Actually, if it doesn't open, it's still secure. But if I kept turning it to the point where it...
Does open.
Right, so it's either locked or not. It's not like...
Half locked.
Yeah, it's not half locked exactly. Okay? It's property of the presenter. I'm going to tell you, hey, that door's locked. Okay? It's absolute. Again, it is or it isn't. Is that door back there locked? No, it's open. I can see. You can guarantee me. I mean, you can tell me, look, the door's open. We can. So very easy. It can be assertive, and it's a goal. We would like a secure system. But can you make a secure system? Not totally. There's no way. Unless we take this computer, unplug it, turn it off, put it in a waterproof, airproof, hurricane, tornado-proof box, but then we get that whole availability thing. Really, so there's really no way to get there. Okay, now trust. There's degrees of trust, okay? When I was in the military, I had a secret security clearance. Other people had top secret. Which one's better? Top secret. So there's different levels of security clearances, different levels of trust, okay?
They actually gave me secret? No.
It was funny because I was supposed to have top secret. Because when I was going through basic training, you know, when they first find your first job for you, they sent me down to start my top secret clearance. And I did not get along with my parents. I basically ran away from home and joined the military. I literally did. I ran away from home and joined the military. So when I called asking my stepmom questions, she's like, I don't want to talk to your ass. Don't ever call here again. So there went my top secret clearance.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I never got it. So I don't know what I was supposed to be, but oh well. So maybe it was in the role I was supposed to be this way. Okay, so there's degrees of that. It's property of the receiver, you know.
Is that your excuse?
That's it. You know, so basically I can decide how to trust Marlene. Okay. Now normally she brings a paperwork saying she has a secret or a top secret clearance. That would help me make my decision, but it's really up to me. I can decide what level of trust I need. Okay? It's relative. Edward Snowden had a top secret clearance. Look what he did. So it's judged. Someone judged him. But now we found out. Y'all know how that whole thing works? You know, he broke into all the NSA computers. He actually was a computer technician. And he asked people for their credentials so he could fix their computer. I guess 14 out of 20-something people gave him their passwords. Just gave it to him.
Are you serious?
He said, I need to fix your computer. What's your username and password? And 14 out of however many just gave it to him. Because I was actually at a meeting where they were talking about it. And they're like, yeah, everybody had to go through retraining because you're not supposed to give this stuff out. Don't give it out. Okay? So, trust, again, is relative. It's judged. And it's also based on context. You know, because that's all the same. It's all the same. Okay. So, it's so the context is also part of it. So, if I'm working at Papa John's, does your top secret clearance do a hill of beans for me? No, you're making a pizza. I could care less. So it's relative to the situation. You know, I could care less, but you know, different areas. You know, I had a student come in want to go into a program. She has a felony. It's not Marlene, by the way. But she came in and she goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna tell you up front. I got a couple felonies." I'm like, "Couple?" Okay.
What?
But I says, "You know, just so you know, you will have a hard time finding a job." She goes, "No, I got a job already." I'm like, "What?" She goes, I just want to get an education now. I have a good job now. I don't plan on leaving. What it was is she works for some company. She told me the name. I don't remember the name. He strictly hires felons. I'm like, that's a gamble. Can you imagine? I mean, it's great. He's out there helping them, getting them back on their feet, giving them a chance, but it's like...
Is it like a pizza place?
No, she does computer work.
Oh, computer work.
Yes. So I don't know if I want to hire this company to do anything for it. I don't remember what the company was. I don't know what they did.
I don't know. Computer place, man.
I know, but that's like, I would be very, very scary. Okay. So trust is also a characteristic. You're a very trustworthy person. You have good, you know, it's a characteristic of you is that you're trustworthy. Not so much. Not so, all right. Ariel can't secure official trust. You need to know each of those.
Heuristic.
Yeah, it's new. It's a special kind of characteristic. It's I even looked at this. Totally forgot to fix it. Oh,
Kind
well.
of like charisma and...
Yeah, charismatic. And charismatic, same. No. All right. So, you know, both of these. I don't remember what the question is. I don't remember if it's a multiple choice, but they're on there. Okay. All right. Any questions on all that stuff? Pretty simple stuff. I probably expanded on them a lot more this year than I ever did in the past. So maybe you get something out of it. I don't know. All right. Let me stop this recording.